So, in Expeditions Mudrunner, there is an expedition that I believe is going to frustrate a lot of people. So, in this video, we're going to cover exactly how to complete it. And this expedition can be found in Arizona, and it is found in the Waheep Bay, or the Waweep Bay, sorry. And it's called No More Shaking. It's going to be, like, after you've done the first 5 expeditions in Grand Canyon, this is probably going to be your next one. So if we have a look at it, the difficulty is very hard. The distance is 2080. You need to travel to another map, and I don't know why it's not a feature in the game, but you cannot travel from one map to another. So as soon as you make it over to Waweep Bay, going through the gateway, you cannot go back to the previous map. So if we jump into this, for our truck, you can do some team composition if you want, but it's not necessary. And if you don't have the SE, which is, I believe, is the Pioneer Pack or something like that from the Supreme Edition of the game, then you can just use the standard one. But you want to use the Step 310E because of the fuel tank. You need as much fuel as you can possibly get. So if we jump into this truck, the upgrades and stuff are going to be like almost identical. But I'm going to be using the SE because it has the extra 40 litres of fuel. So if we go in and we go to customize, you're going to need to change this truck around. At its base, it's probably not going to be good enough unless you get really, really lucky with terrain. So when it comes to the engine, I've just left the stock engine. The gearbox is stock. The suspension, you really, really have to change this. And that's because when you put on the stock kit, the tyres are 39-inch, I believe they are. Whereas you change it over to the lift kit and it gives you 42-inch tyres, which have a much, much better ground clearance. With the base, like 39-inch tyres, you're going to get stuck a lot. So with this, I've gone for the off-road ones, the UOD Tier 1, because they're the only ones I have unlocked, and you'll see that they have good rock and off-road tyre traction. So I'm going to say they are absolutely necessary. Then you keep the extended winch on, you've got your diff lock, and there's quite a bit of water in this expedition, so I recommend putting on the twin snorkels. And then when it comes to the exterior, this is where like the most important parts besides the tyres are going to come into it. So you want to put on the rear mounted rack, and you'll see at the bottom, like just over to the right hand side where the description is, basically I can press X to fill the slots. So you're going to fill this and put 15 litres of fuel. Then for the front, you can change some things around, but it's not necessary. Then when it comes to the roof, you are going to put nothing on because you won't have it unlocked. But if you can get hold of the roof rack, then you've got an extra 4 slots there for fuel. And then in miscellaneous, you want to put on the emergency reserve medium, because if I equip the small one and we back out, you are going to see down here in resources, bottom left, that I have 45 litres of spare fuel. If we go into customize and I change that over to the medium one, then backing out, you're going to see that I've got 75 litres. So make sure you are equipping the medium emergency reserve, but you also then want the side mounted racks as well, because again, you can fill the slots, and this time you have 2 slots to give you an extra 30 litres of fuel. So you've got 45 litres from the mounts on the truck, and then 30 litres from the emergency reserve, because you are going to need a lot of fuel. Then you have to have the seismic vibrator. The rims, you can have whatever, and you can buy an exhaust if you want to. Then obviously paint and everything like that. So with the massive amount of fuel that we're taking, overall it's going to be 315 litres in this one. It's going to be 275 if you don't have the SE version of this truck. And then you'll see here that the distance is 2080, and if you look where the truck is, it's got the name of the truck, and then it says 4880, so we should have plenty of fuel to cover this drive. So now we are on the deployment screen, and we are not going to go to the South Outpost. We are going to go to the Field Operation Base, because we need to make it to the gateway to go to Waweep Bay. So what you're going to do when you first spawn in is you've got to make your way over to the gateway, which is over here. So what I'm going to do is plot a route with you. You can follow along, and it's going to be the safest route that you can take. So if we add the point and we keep coming along this road, follow the road all the way along. Now this bit is where it's going to start getting tricky. Make sure you have jack screws and you have anchors with you, just in case something goes wrong. This truck is really, really heavy. And always put it in all-wheel drive as well. But you're going to follow, you're going to keep coming all the way down to the bottom here. And you're going to come along this section. And then when you get to this split here, you can't actually fit through. So you need to come around this way. And then just keep going, follow it all the way along, ignoring this climb and the cliff up here. You're just going to keep coming all the way along. You might have to take a little detour every now and then, but this is like the main part of the route. And then when you get to this section here, you want to get up onto this bit. And the only way that I have found to make it up onto this cliff bit where the gateway is to come all the way along here to where the like where land kind of meets the water. Like there's a little bit of a separation there. You're going to come along there, you're going to climb up this section, and then keep going up, and eventually you get to the right level to make it into the gateway. So if I zoom out of the map quickly, you guys will see the exact route that we've plotted, and there you go. So you can kind of like try and copy it. It won't be exact, but the good thing is when you are actually in, if we turn on all-wheel drive, turn on the engine and everything, you're going to see these blue markers. Make sure you drive into them because they are going to update as you make progress. So like there, we've got our next one. But follow it all the way along, make it to the gateway, and then I'll see you guys when we get to the other side in Warweep Bay. I will say about this journey, when you get to this section here with this water, avoid it as much as you can. Instead of trying to go through it, come round to the side and slowly make your way around, because otherwise you will get stuck. It's a tiny body of water, but this truck will not move out of it. And again, once you get to this bit, you're probably going to have quite a lot of trouble. The section where I said, like, right close to the gateway, the section I said, like, is the only bit I've found to actually make it up onto the cliff. What you want to do is, you'll see the water, sort of like the split down here behind me. What you're going to need to do is go as far right as you can. You can kind of see, basically, get your truck into that water to the tiny bit you'll see that looks like a ramp, and you're going to have to drop your tire pressure. So if I turn the truck on, I've put it all the way to low pressure because otherwise it just will not make it up the hill. It's not going to climb those rocks, and you can use this tree that we're parked right next to winch yourself up. And then once you are up here, it should be smooth sailing to the gateway. So once you make it to the gateway, you are going to do Let's Go, is going to do a little loading screen. You're going to get into Warweep Bay. I will say, if you've made it to this point and you don't have at least half your fuel tank, restart and do that first part again, because you're going to need to be efficient to make this, because you'll see I've got just over half. I've done this run multiple times now. You'll see top right, explore the area 79%. I have struggled with it myself. So it's through practice and experience that I've managed to put this video together to show you guys exactly how to do it. So when you get through to Warweep Bay, you need to make it over here, but in order to conduct the survey, you need to be on top of this cliff. And you'll see around the back end there is a climb. So what we're going to do from the starting point is we are going to map out our journey, which goes around here. There's going to be a little lip that you can kind of drive off into the ravine there. And you're going to get down to this water. It's going to be really, really tough to pull this truck through. The truck's really heavy and it does not like water. But there are lots and lots of trees down here to help you through. And you're just going to make it all the way along. And when you get to this section where you have the split, obviously you need to go left. But stick to the left as much as you can, because this water is horrible to try and make it through. So once you have made it up there, let me actually remove those and put them a little bit closer so I can actually drive through them. This bit here is a hill before these rocks. Incredibly frustrating again. But I will show you guys clips as we make it there as well. Then once you get to this section, you're going to stick to the right side, pull yourself up onto this ledge, and then you get up and round sort of like this. And you keep going round. And here, what you've got to do is come all the way down here. Just keep going straight, and then on this section here, you're kind of going to follow this little gap around, make it up here, and then come around the back end of this cliff to start your climb up to the top. So, I'll show you little bits that I feel are important as we're making our way through, but if I zoom out, that is the exact route you are going to need to take to get this done. So when you enter this ravine, it's exactly why I recommended the snorkels. And I want you guys to know that it's taken multiple hours to do this. It's really, really difficult. There is a reason it's a very hard difficulty expedition. And that's why I'm saying, if you've got less than half of your fuel tank, just scrap it. End the expedition, go back to the headquarters, start it all over again. You need to get through to this bit with over half a fuel tank, because otherwise you're just never going to make it. And I made a big mistake on my journey here and still got through with over half. So you don't have to be too careful, but be as careful as you can and don't make too many mistakes. As I said, less than half, scrap it and start again. And then when you get to this section here, you're going to have a little bit of trouble. The truck's basically not going to want to move. Luckily, there is a winching point in front. But that's also why I recommend the anchors, and I also recommend the jack screws. If you want, you can go through the specialists and hire those to bring in with you. In order to hire specialists is where you put your trucks into your loadout, essentially. You can choose the specialist from there. But just keep slogging your way through these ravines, following the waypoints that we've placed, using your winch whenever you need to get you out of a sticky situation. So this is that bit that splits, and again, you want to stick as far left as you possibly can. So when you get to this bit with the hill, just use the trees and stuff, and when you get to this section as well, like the climb up, get yourself out of the water, but you want to stick to the left-hand side, because there's a horrible rock that you'll get stuck on. So try and get to the left of this like tree thing in the middle. You can just kind of drive over it and knock it down. Now this bit with these rocks, absolute pain again. So what we're going to do is go to the far right-hand side and just absolutely give it some welly. And all we've got to do is get ourselves up there a little bit, and then we're going to winch to the tree the other side. And then what that's going to do is give us the ability to pull ourselves over there. So now we have made it to the other side of the rocks. What we're going to do is come down to the water, and we are going to winch onto the tree and kind of use the tree to pull ourselves up onto this lip. So it's going to keep going, let the truck do its thing, and then when we make it up a little bit, we're going to try and get that tree in front of us without tipping. Please don't tip, don't tip, don't tip, don't tip. Now this is probably one of the trickiest bits in terms of balancing your truck. Just try your hardest not to tip. That's why I recommend the jack screws, because if you tip, you have no worries. You can just plonk your truck back down again. And then this is where it gets tough again. Once you're up here, and you've got the broken bridge in front of you, you need to make it up the hill to the right. And this can be quite tricky. So it's going to get up onto this lip eventually, but you've got to back up again. And you've got to go again. And just try and get enough welly to make it up. And there you go. So now it's the drive around the cliff, which isn't actually too bad. But you'll see we are getting very close to running out of fuel. We've got less than 25%. So we are now at the very bottom of the climb, and you'll see that I've got a tiny bit of fuel left. So what we're going to do is start the climb. I'm going to use that tree up there to help winch me up. And then this is really steep. I think we might have to go low tire pressure. We might have to manually anchor it. And we might also have to use differential lock. Okay, for some reason my anchor just does not want to, it's like that's barricaded off. I'm not allowed to place an anchor on that ground. Okay, so luckily I probably should have tried that first. There is a tree up here that you can actually winch to, but it's going to take a lot of pulling power. And I did notice that I've completely run out of fuel, so I'm going to have to fill up all the way. And we've just about done it. We've got up to this point at least. So I'm going to pull myself around. That's why, like, I can't stress it enough. You need to have a good amount of fuel. Otherwise, you'll never, ever get this done. So again, anything less than half a tank, don't even come through to Warheap Bay or whatever the place is called. But now that I am on top of this ledge, and then using my drone, I've managed to explore the entire area. So now it's just pinpointing exactly where it wants the survey conducted. And I've only just made it up. Look at my fuel. But that is the right area. We're going to start that seismic vibration. And that is expedition complete. 33,700 money. We unlocked the east outpost. And there we go. So 6 out of 37 are now done in Arizona. And that is incredibly stressful. But with that truck set up, it's more than possible. It's just going to be a lot tougher if you don't have the SE. There's nothing really else in the store that you can buy in terms of trucks. And there's nothing else that can really take the seismic vibrator. You can't use the TUZ16 or anything like that. This has got to be, like, if there's anything tougher than this, I'll be very, very surprised. This is, like, a really, really ridiculous expedition. But yeah, try that truck setup, and remember, I'm going to say it one more time in this video. If you have less than half of a fuel tank, do not go through to Weep Bay. It's pointless. And make sure you are using your jack screw if you're turning over. Use your anchors. They're going to be really, really helpful. Winch as much as you can. If you winch to a tree, like if you're running out of fuel but you're very close and you winch to a tree, don't put your foot on the gas. Let the winch do all the pulling and it's going to save some of that fuel. But yeah, overall, be fuel efficient. Try and make the route as efficient as you possibly can in terms of like making as little mistakes as you can. And that was a look at the No More Shaking expedition in Expeditions Mudrunner. What we're going to do is leave that video there. Let me know your thoughts and stuff about this expedition in the comments. I will see you guys in the next one. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it helped you out. Thank you for watching.